All right. Well, again, everybody's in the right place. We're moving into this, marketing workout challenge. The graphics here, right, kind of help emphasize like how much marketing do we need, what kind of, oops, got a little extra screen pop there. What kind of muscle, as you're thinking about, there's so many different options as we think about our marketing. And then, this bigger question, which, we emphasize a lot before you start doing a bunch of marketing, is this notion of, are we in right relationship with the buyers, with time, with process, and the associated outcomes. And the whole marketing analogy, workout analogy type thing has a lot to do with, this photo over here. We've all been through those phases where we want to get in shape, we do some things quickly, and we don't get the outcomes, and then we get distracted and move on to something else. Marketing's super similar in that it takes time. There's a lot of process involved with it. Little things done right over time, equal better outcomes than, following a fad here and there and chasing this, that, and the other. So more on me. So this is what business ownership looks like. I've owned a business, actually 3 different businesses in 25 years. Born and raised here in Montana. So my primary business, is First Call Computer Solutions, which is an IT company, employs a little over 50 people across Montana. Then I've got our digital marketing agency, and then also deal a lot with multifamily real estate in Montana. So a lot of entrepreneurial activity in the last 25 years. And with that, how many of you are in the old business owner seat? The business owner seat. Yeah, there can be a lot of stress associated with it. And over the years, I've made a lot of trial and error stuff with marketing. Made a lot of mistakes. Honestly, the mistake pile is fairly large on that front. Part of the reason why I'm so interested in this and passionate in this topic and helping other organizations is when I started to get over certain humps in the businesses I was involved with, business really started to be more of a life-giving activity, versus highly stressful, because you could begin to predict business. You could begin to predict what's going to happen in the next quarter, in the next 6 months, the next year. And when you do that, you can plan. There's a lot less stress. There's a lot more freedom, involved with that type of business journey versus where's that next meal coming from? Where's that next project coming from? Where's that next client coming from? So over time, I've kind of moved from this, to, that kind of feeling, which is ultimately, I think what all of us get involved, with business for is to have more life, more freedom, more energy to do the things, that we want to be doing. All right, I want to start with this high level, couple of questions of why do we need effective marketing? And what does effective marketing have to do with more choices? Let's jump here on the. So the treadmill that's up there, I like to just keep this very, very simple of why do people buy treadmills and what's the problem that they're trying to solve? Anybody?
Get fit.
Get fit?
That's yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Get in shape.
Yeah.
Okay, what you say, thighs? I like that. I actually really like that answer, right? Because that might be an answer that most people might not say, but is probably a very real reason why someone might do it. Okay. And so when we're marketing whatever it is, whether it's teeth whitening, real estate, or insurance, you really have to slow down and think about what is the problem that this person, this buyer, is trying to solve. And when we think about treadmill, like the obvious answer does come to the mind. It's like, oh, people want to get fit, cardio, whatever it is. But oftentimes it might be because they don't want to be outside. They don't want to be exercising in front of other people. And that's really more of the emotional problem that they're trying to solve versus the obvious problem that we think we're trying to solve. Maybe it's a part of their body. right? There's lots of different, more emotional kind of core reasons why people do what they do and make the choices that we think about. And as we know, there's also many ways to solve the fitness problem, but there may not be as many ways to be able to work out privately, all of that kind of stuff. You got to, again, look at those, the problem the same way with your organizations, both inside and outside your doors. And you really do have to recognize with people, we are, by our very nature, very problem ridden. Always are thinking about the next problem. How do I solve it? How is this going to make my life better? This is especially true in American culture. But the more you can get to the root of the problem people are trying to solve, the more effective your marketing is going to be. We're going to talk in the workshop piece about how do you better understand that. The one thing is always to be looking back at your previous customers. As you've got to know them, as you've heard the little things that they mention, along your journey with them, what are the things that they're saying? And I think probably teeth whitening is a really good example of, it's like the outcome, the feature is whiter teeth. But why do people, pursue that? And I bet there's a lot of different reasons why different men, women, different age groups, etc., get involved with that. Okay. So the more you can think about your existing customer and really think about what is that problem they're trying to solve, the better your marketing will become. From a marketing standpoint, it's also about reaching those people. And there's lots of different ways to do that, and we'll dive into that. But ultimately, we need to reach those people. We need to speak to the problem they're trying to solve. We need to give them confidence that we're likable, that they can trust us, and that ultimately, what's that next step? What's the try that we're looking for? And there's always a try step typically before the buy step. Even in a retail store, like something we all deal with, like an Ace Hardware, a try is walking through that door. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy something. But if you can get that traffic through the door, which retailers work really hard at, right, that's a good example of that try process. Beyond that too, we always want to be thinking about in marketing, once they're customers, how do we get repeat? And then the ideal, how do we get referral? If they've had a great experience, if they've had a great outcome, how can we get that referral? And maybe in the insurance side of things, Brad, like you might always think of referrals very traditionally. Hey, Brad was great. My neighbor next door needs insurance. You should deal with Brad. Okay. Referrals, we need to expand our thinking there too. A Google review is a referral. A social media share is a referral. A testimonial is a referral. There's lots of different ways, and in our workshop, we'll be really challenging people about think about your customer, think about their problem, think about that complete journey of know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, refer, and challenge yourself as to your thinking and how to expand that thinking and how you could do better. Who has employees in the room? Who does any hiring? Kalispell market's super tight, has been, for a long time. And I want to use hiring as a marketing problem versus a staffing problem. So in the world of hiring, we're often, right, see this, like we're hiring, help wanted, we're hiring, join our team. And let's take this back to what problem are we solving for a prospective employee? Right? The obvious answer is, well, I can give them a job. If they have a job, they can go to work and they can get paid. In a really tight labor market, is that really the problem that employers are solving for prospective candidates? What might be other problems that we need to market to as employers to prospective employees? They're largely employed today and already have a job, so that's not really a problem for them. Benefit packages. What else?
Maybe flexibility on schedule or location where you work, if you can work remote or on site.
Why else do people have jobs beyond paychecks, benefits, and some of those other attributes? There you go, right? And not all jobs give them satisfaction. So maybe marketing to someone that has got a dissatisfactory job, a dissatisfactory culture, a dissatisfactory environment, and presenting your culture and environment and all those things as an alternative to that is a lot more effective of approach, because we all know it, there's a lot of people out there that are going to work every day but aren't satisfied with the work that they're doing. And none of this speaks to how to solve that problem. Make sense? Mm-hmm. And then think about that process, right? It's like maybe people are underemployed, maybe people are overworked, undervalued, overscheduled, underutilized. All of these are different types of problems that we can market our businesses to as, here's how I can solve that. Very different than this type of messaging. We also need to think about that whole process of how do those prospective employees know you? How can you get them to like you? How can you get them to trust you? This just says, hey, I have a job. Apply. Don't care who you are, what you do, like I just have a job. But if you spend time in marketing consistently over time, helping prospective employees know you, like you, trust you, there's lots of ways to do that, even very affordably. When you do need that hiring piece, right, people already have kind of framed that stuff in their mind. And then what's that try piece, right? Try as apply, try as an interview, taking it on through that. And you can even think about, how do you get them to stay, repeat? How do you get them to refer other good people as part of that process? So you can work those same marketing channels, all the way through. And a lot of folks in this market and across Montana are still very much stuck in, I have jobs, nobody will apply. And the answer is not because there aren't good people out there. It's they already have jobs and you're marketing a problem that they don't have. Find a different way to market your problem or the solution to their problem. Don't die. None of us are qualified to save you in this room. Okay. All right. Couple more slides and I promise we'll get to food. So this question of what does it have to do with choices? So company A doesn't reach enough customers or workforce with the right problems. They don't clearly communicate how they solve the problem. They don't effectively drive tries and buys from the people with the problems. They don't effectively drive good experiences for the ones that do buy, and they struggle to get repeat or referral business. That company is going to look a lot like these gassed out, individuals over here.
Kind of familiar.
Yeah. Ideal, big part of my job is just working with companies all over Montana. Kalispell in this market is actually one of where there's a lot more of this kind of exasperated feel than in many other parts, of the state. Okay. And I really do believe a big part of it is just simply changing, some of the marketing efforts and how do you solve different people's problems. Because it's not just the employers, there's a lot of employees feeling the same way. Company B does reach enough customers' workforce with the right problems, clearly communicates how they're going to solve those problems, effectively drives tries and buys from the people with the problems, does effectively drive good experiences from the ones that do buy, and consistently gets repeat or referral business. Look, they're ready for a new day. Okay. All right, so trivia. The simple question of like, why do we have marketing? Why do we need effective marketing? Reach people with problems and help them see what we have to offer as a solution. Help them gain the confidence to try and buy. Enhance their customer experience and encourage them to buy again and even refer us. And again, be starting to think about referrals and expand your thinking there. And give ourselves more choices and freedom, in business and in life. Yeah. In the real estate world, very competitive, right?
I'm an association,
Right.
so I do a lot of the education, communication of what the association wants from
Right.
members. So
Right.
not necessarily,
But helping those members,
Yeah,
right, through
yeah.
at the realtor level, depending on the type of real estate that you're dealing with, there's going to be different types of offerings and different types of problems, right? What a brand new family is trying to solve, versus what a retiree that just moved here is trying to solve are two very different things. Okay, commercial. With all the real estate options out there, realtor options out there, how do you help them give confidence, to try you and sign a real estate agreement? How do you make their experience great and in part use marketing to do that? Again, that does happen in the real estate world. Many successful agents have multiple transactions over lifetimes with folks. A lot of referrals in that world, and successful agents that do this really well have a way different experience, than agents that are struggling on that front. All right, so I do want to make this simple point. Like, a lot of this stuff is not new, not revolutionary. It's been around a super, super long time, and America is the king of it. We have created a level of consumer the world has never seen because marketing has gotten so good at narrowing in on all these little problems and giving solutions to everything under the sun. What has changed? Anybody have any idea?
I'm going to say how the delivery has changed.
Yeah. It's really how people buy. It has changed radically due to all of the things that you mentioned. And this is part of the issue that folks are having is just like everything else, like too many options. How do I do this? Right? It starts to become very confusing of how do I reach these people? How do I communicate to these people? When do I communicate with these people? The DNA of a marketing engine, we'll cover this concept real quick, but I've already gone over some of this stuff. When you ask a room of people, like, what is marketing? You get a lot of different answers. But to me, it's these three simple things. It's getting people to know you, like you, and trust you. Sales, it's simply tries and buys. Service is repeat and refer. And I think everybody, regardless of your industry, if you take nothing else out of this room other than simplifying what marketing is and what you're trying to do is just get the right people to know you, the right people to like you, the right people to trust you, you'll go a long way in simplifying in your head of, is what I'm doing working? And are there other things I could be doing better to simply get more know, like, and trust? Fair enough. So, as you think about marketing, again, this message of doing a lot of little things right consistently over time, which is very similar, to staying in shape and working out. And we all know with working out, you can have bad form and you can also have good form. So this first exercise that we're going to go through, I'm going to, kind of overwhelm you here, for a minute. So, you can see down below, there's a lot of stuff, but ultimately it's like, look at your muscles today. What are you doing digitally? What are you doing non-digitally? How does that line up with best practices? What do you see? Step two, what are those competitors doing on the same front? Within the world of marketing, we always have to be looking at what is the competition doing. Step three, where are we going? What kind of customers do we really want? What are their key problems? How do we solve them? How are we going to market to them, sell to them, service them in a way that becomes part of our marketing engine? Step four, how are we going to get there? What actions do we need to take? Month by month, what quick wins can we get versus what are the longer term things? How do we need to be perceived? How do we sound? What's our core message? How do we look? What elements will set the right mood? What elements create like and trust? Build your foundation of stuff, websites, social media channels, Google My Business, listing, all of this stuff. Use your foundation to reach the right people at the right places at the right time. So it's a lot of stuff in those steps. And we can do the same thing when we're thinking like fitness. It's like, oh, I got to get the treadmill and I got to get the workout gear and which gym am I going to go to and all of the, when am I going to work out? What am I going to eat? And all of these different things. And the point I always try and make, to groups like this is all that stuff's great to think about. But if you don't have commitment to it, don't start, right? And you really have to think about, your why and what are you doing and why are you doing it? And am I really committed to it? And we all know, like going to a gym, there's people that are really committed to fitness. I am not one of those people, right? I am more of the average Joe fitness guy. That's my level of commitment. Okay. And so I really encourage, and again, I've done a lot of mistakes, in my time of, biting off more than I could chew from a marketing standpoint. And marketing can be expensive. It can be time consuming. And if you're not really committed to it consistently over time, don't do it. Find the right level of commitment to where you feel comfortable and that you feel like, yeah, this makes sense. I'm in the commitment zone for this over time. Make sense? Yeah. All right. So that's exercise number one. Exercise number two is this concept of A's, B's, and C's. So in my business journey on the IT side of things, it took me probably close to a decade, honestly, to really figure out who were my really good clients that I served really well. Why did I serve them really well? Why did they serve me really well? Who are my A's and B's? And it takes time to figure that out. And as you get to know that better, right, you can see the C's, the D's, and the F's, right? You can say, that's probably not a great fit for me. And oh, by the way, I'm probably not a great fit for you in that process. The more you figure that out, right, the more you can narrow in your marketing focus, your marketing dollars, the problems that the A's and B's have versus the C's, D's, and F's. I spoke at the Montana Tavern Association meeting a couple of months ago. Very difficult industry across Montana, right? Very hard to hire people, very competitive, to get people in. And they have to think through that whole marketing journey. How do I get them to try? How do I get them to buy? How do I get them to repeat? How do I get them, to refer? So on and so forth. And it's super interesting, just, typical tavern owner, bar, casino, like they know who their A's and B's are. And they also know like who can really cause problems, within their establishments. And they really have to think about like marketing, to the folks that they want, and how do they not market to the people that they don't want, right? So we all go through this in our business. I don't care if it's real estate, a casino, teeth cleaning, teeth whitening, excuse me, IT services, marketing services. The more clear you can get in your head and your heart, on who are the folks you really want to be working with, how you serve them, and how they serve you, the better off your marketing engine's going to be. Okay. Again, we'll workshop this later too. A little deeper into this, in the marketing world, that these are called buyer personas. And you may have heard that term. But ultimately, it's what's the problem they're trying to solve? What emotional state are they in? What's their makeup? Right. Some of this is demographics, right? Age, stage, income amount, those kinds of things. But pain points, priorities, how are they defining success? Barriers, often what you're perceived, their decision-making criteria. Super important. What emotional state do they want to end up in? So let's just take dinner, because we all go out to dinner. Okay. And if you're going out to dinner with your kids versus going out to dinner with your loved one, you don't love your kids. But right, a special dinner, right, with a significant other, like what emotional state do you want to end up in? That's really what people are buying. Like they want a nice meal. They want to be taken care of. They want to feel like the person across the table enjoyed it as well. That's as important to the meal as did I enjoy my meal as did the other person enjoy their meal. The experience, do they come out relaxed? Do they come out happy? Is there joy? Right? There's many different elements in that. And you can think of two of the exact same restaurants in the exact same market that serve the exact same food, have the exact same service, everything across the board. One focuses not on emotional state. Other does. Which restaurant do you choose? Food was the same, ambiance was the same, right? But if you really have a restaurant that's focused on delivering what emotional state does that person want to be in during the meal and leaving the meal, that restaurant's going to be far more successful. Take that same concept to insurance. You really have to think through those A's and B's and think through who are these folks. And as I said earlier, it's a lot about, if you've been in business for a while, thinking back to your most successful customers, transactions, and why was that way? What problems, what pain points did those people have? How were they defining success? What were their perceived barriers? What emotional state did they want to end up in? And then lastly, their buyer journey. And this goes back to that problem. Marketing's the same, nothing new, but how people buy, very new. A lot of change going on there. And so you really have to think through, how do they buy? And where in that process do you need to be creating know, like, and trust?
When you say how, do you mean like in person, online, or how is in emotional? Like, is it an emotional purchase or or all of the above?
More of their tactical journey.
Okay.
More of the tactical things. And again, you can think of, a restaurant, right? Going into Valentine's Day as an example, right? And you can think about, well, who's probably going to be making that reservation? What is their journey to looking at options, which is probably a Google search, and it's probably a more specific type of Google search, right? For Valentine's Day dinner, most romantic restaurants, whereas other weeks, they probably aren't looking at that. Okay. So how do you think about what are they going to be doing and where in that do you need to insert some know, some like, and some trust? Okay. Great question. Again, I really think people, when they start to look at all this, like it becomes overwhelming. And so this is a simple exercise, which we'll workshop in the second half of just like, what are all of the things out there, right? The channels, the ways I could reach people to create know, like, and trust. And for no, what should I be doing digitally? And for non-digital marketing, which works very, very well. I'm a digital marketing guy, but I'm also a big believer, on our IT side of things. We're involved with 14 or 15 associations across the state, 10 to 12 chambers, and it's all non-digital. And a big part of what we do is, relationships and knowing people and being at events and all of those types of things. Trade show booths, handouts, all non-digital type of stuff. Buying burritos, all non-digital. So ultimately, really have to think through those and just plot the stuff, that makes sense. Again, we'll workshop that. Great picture, Jacob. Great picture. You never get it off the ground. So. Okay.
You didn't have your.
Right. So I want to stop on that. Okay.
You did now.
Pretty stupid, right? But does it create a little like? A little like, just a little,
Yeah.
right? Non-digital. Okay. So, I could show up these, right, in any outfit. I've actually disrobed in these things where I show up like, in a complete, business casual outfit, and all of a sudden I'm taking off the dress shirt and I'm dropping the pants, where it's just, shorts, t-shirt. That creates a lot of either like or no like if you're not wearing something underneath. But the whole point of the stupid shtick is just it creates some memory, some like, and it's like, yeah, because 6 months from now, you're not going to remember a word I said, but you might remember the stupid headbands. Okay. So it's a teaching thing as much as it is, us marketing to you. So like digital marketing, non-digital marketing. Okay. Give me some examples in your own buying world where you've established some like of something. Right.
Coffee, like for me, so wherever the coffee I stop at.
Right. It's like coffee is a super emotional, super personal thing to somebody. And, the problem we're trying to solve is not necessarily just caffeine and a hot drink. It's more of I gave myself a treat and I feel better and I feel more relaxed. And it was a little bit of joy in my day. That's the problem that coffee buyers, right? And it's incredibly powerful, right? You guys, those early days of the pandemic, what always blew my mind is like, man, the coffee lines were a mile long. It's like people got out of their house and they went to these, drive-through coffee deals because they were looking for a treat and a feel good, not because they couldn't brew a damn cup of coffee at home and make it the way they wanted to. Coffee was not the problem they were trying to solve. It was, I want a break, I want a treat, I want out of the house. Okay, great one.
There was when I worked in Washington State, seeing me directly, but the DoubleTree Hotel, they made a big marketing push, just this one little thing, turn down service with a chocolate chip cookie.
Right, I was just gonna say the chocolate chip cookie.
Nice.
Right, it creates a tremendous amount of like, right, that people.
Local bakeries, so you want it that way, and
Right.
it was like a chocolate chip cookie.
Right.
Turn down service, the warmth of
Right.
how they presented it.
Right.
And it did them well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just want to mention, with a lot of companies where people are like locally motivated, that might be an influencer. They
Yeah.
want to say, I want to work with Montana based company, or in companies that work with charity organizations and they share how their company participated in some sort of charity event. That motivates people to choose them over their competitor because it shows community focus and you're more likely to relate to them on an emotional level beyond just the I need to buy something. That's another way with the story piece of the like element, telling the story of the company and motivating them to relate to you in a nice way, right?
Trust. Okay. So, trust is, a different thing that you're trying to deliver, than like. I can wear my goofy, headband and my sweatshirt and think, the guy's kind of likable. And, whatever. He's from Montana. I went to Hellgate. I like him. But it's like trust is more like, well, what sort of certifications do you have? What sort of experience do you have? So some of the trust stuff that we use is like, well, I've made a ton of mistakes in marketing, right? And through all those mistakes, I've learned a lot of what not to do so that I can share what to do and what works. Okay, that's a trust element. Okay. We went through a large digital agency certification program called Duct Tape Marketing. Got all certified as digital marketing consultants and a digital marketing agency, and go to their national conference and all of those types of things. We're a certified Google partner, right? These are all things. It's like, okay, well, this guy, I trust him more now that, it's not just some kid from Hellgate, figuring this stuff out. Okay. I did graduate from business school. 50 employees, 22 years of business, right? Like not my first rodeo, right? So all trust elements, but you get the point at what I'm saying. And this can be big differentiators, especially for organizations that maybe have low friction of entry, right? It's like from a real estate standpoint, it's like, okay, you got your certificate, but there's huge levels of experience and number of transactions and deals and, referrals and testimonials from, commercial bankers and things along those lines that bring weight to one real estate agent that another real estate agent does not have access to yet. Those are the kinds of trust elements you have to think through.
I was thinking on this too for trust, so is this us telling our story? And maybe I'm jumping ahead, but coffee, for example, if one day my coffee tastes this way and I get used to it that way, and then one day I come in and it's completely different, I don't like it, it's bitter or whatever,
right?
They're going to start losing my trust at that one place.
Right.
So,
on those types of things, they might create some sort of visual icon, right? That's like same taste guarantee, right? Simplified version of that, where it's branded with their colors and anything along those lines. 100% refund if it's not your way every time.
Gotcha.
Right? Those are trust elements that give you confidence. Like, because we've all been there. It's like, this is how I like my drink, and this barista knows it. And Susie showed up today, and Susie's an F.
Yes.
Right.
I want to comment on that trust, because one of my big things, I don't do business with people I don't know, like, or trust.
Right.
If you want to sell you, market you this, pitch you that,
right,
et cetera, et cetera. But part of the trust component is doing what you say you're going to do.
Right.
And then
Yes.
the promise, right.
Right. So Google reviews, right, are a huge reinforcer that Brad does what he says he's going to do. And people put we all do. We all look at them and we all put a tremendous amount of confidence in those Google reviews, because that's what we're looking for, is this person does what they say they're going to do, because I've never done business with them before. Okay. An insurance agent with 50 Google reviews, an insurance agent with 1, and they're both 5 stars across the board, or 4.6 or whatever, who do we trust more? Just based off of number of reviews and stars.
The 51.
Right. We don't even have to read them, but we all as consumers put a lot of trust validation in that. So part of that engine is, how do I build a positive Google review engine?
that looks at just the negative reviews. I want to just see what the negative impact was. I actually just had a plumber come by and do some plumbing work in the bathroom, and they cut the tile and didn't fix the tile and left it like that.
Ouch.
I would look for that in a review for a future plumber.
Right.
Yeah.
How did they leave the site? It's not whether or not their experience to fix the problem,
Yeah,
but the experience afterwards was not positive for me.
It's just a matter of mapping your tactics, within those. And then, making sure it makes good business financial sense. So you're not going overboard with your spend versus your return. And then again, this is, if you didn't start with commitment, you're screwed, right? Because it's like, I did a little of it, it didn't work. Therefore, my body didn't change the way I wanted it to, in the time frame that I wanted it to, I'm done. Right? You've got to have that commitment, because know, like, trust. If you're in business, if your doors are open, right? It doesn't stop. You can never stop. Whether you're doing advertising or spending a nickel on marketing, you are still doing know, like, trust every single day. And if you stop, your business will not be around that much longer. Okay. We talk a lot about, all right, I've got strategy, I've got tactics, I want to build this notion of a marketing engine, of a know, like, trust marketing engine. What are all the pieces, involved with it? And so strategy and research, and again, you don't, depending on the size and scope of your organization and budget, right? You can do this through some of the worksheets and workshop stuff, we'll be doing in the next hour, but you have to start there, right? A big part of our mantra is strategy first, strategy first, strategy first. And the reason is we get lots of calls and inquiries about, can you do this pay-per-click campaign for me? Can you do this Facebook thing for me? Can you do this for email marketing campaign for me? It's like, what's the overall strategy? Help me understand that. Because if I don't understand that, I can't tell you if I can help you tactically. And honestly, I don't think you should be doing anything tactically unless you've got a clear strategy. Okay? Branding and graphic design. For as long as human history has existed, people have been putting visuals out there. Stuff on the rock walls in the canyons, right? Because humans identify with visuals very strongly. I can talk to you all of the day, but at the end of the day, you'll probably remember the headband and know, like, trust logo more than anything else. It's the visuals. Branding and graphic design is super important, but you can't jump to that unless you've got a clear strategy set, on who you're trying to attract, what's the problem, so on and so forth. Web design. Websites sometimes I think are thought of as a little bit old school, at this point. Like, I got a Facebook presence, I got a Google My Business listing. But the reality is that the website brings everything together. It gives you authority, it gives you like elements, it gives you trust elements, it gives people some more time to dive a little bit deeper into who you are, what you do, so on and so forth. It's the center of anything digital. Content creation. Content can be ad content, video content, written word, video content. This is a content generation, machine. There's so many different ways to generate content. The main thing here is always thinking in your mind, like, is this like content? Is this trust content? Is this actionable content? Like, try this, okay? And a lot of times people are trying to combine all of that at once. It's just really hard, to do, especially in the short little attention spans that we've got. And so a lot of what we try and teach is separate out what are some things you're going to do to create like. What are some other things you're going to do to create trust and not try and jam everything together all of the time? Okay. Trust is really the last step before try too. And so like Brad was saying, like, I don't know if I trust somebody yet, but I generally kind of know if I like them. So, that like step is, first in the process. Once people say, yeah, I like it, and this, could solve a problem I have, then they start to do a little deeper of, do I trust these people before I make that next move? That all helpful? SEO, that's search engine optimization. The simple thing, I don't want to, we could go on for days on SEO, but ultimately you got to make the search engines happy. You got to make it easy for them, for people to, their job is to get searchers to you. But if you don't do your job getting your SEO straight, you make it harder for the search engines to get searchers to you. The simple thing is like, it's 2023. The standards are pretty clear. Get them straight. Do it better than your competitors. Montana's not a heavy SEO market because ultimately there's not that much competition in what we're doing. So the thing in if I was in Seattle, right, it'd be a very different SEO type topic. In Montana, just do the fundamentals right, you're going to be fine. Social media, lots of aspects to that, many different channels. This is a huge TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the list go on and on. Email marketing, paid search, sales enablement. Sales enablement is super important, especially for any of us that are doing more direct types of prospecting. Okay. A lot of non-digital things. So if you're going to an event, right, it's like business card is sales enablement. Have something physical to give somebody, right? That's like the most simple sales enablement, example I can give you. Okay. In our worksheets today that we're going to be, okay, like this is the sales enablement tool. You can do something. It has a simple QR code on it. It says scan me. It's going to take you to our website. And there's more stuff on the website. That's sales enablement. Salespeople need the marketing engine to work for them, right? And they're not always in the digital world. They're in the non-digital world. So sales enablement is just simply, how can those of us behind the scenes in marketing really help the salesperson create know, like, trust? That's it. Nothing more complicated to that than that. And again, a business card creates know. You don't have yours, do you? Oh, failed the test. Jacob has a business card with a very funny, photo on it from our workout deal, right? And every time he hands out that business card, it's instant like. Like I've never seen, like, nobody likes a business card and like charms up and brightens up, because nobody gets a business card with a guy holding a kettlebell, like this, with his headband on, looking like a goofball. But it creates a handsome goofball. So see what everybody understands sales enablement. Way under appreciated of how important salespeople are, how important their time is, and how important it is to help them create know, like, and trust. Analytics and results management. This is a huge part of why I'm so attracted to digital, is you can see results. Central services in the digital world, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that is hosting and managing, and applications and software that make this stuff easier. That's what central services is. And then odd job, change management, what I'll call quick wins. Those are all things that, just come up in marketing that marketing needs to adjust to and address. Okay. You don't have to build this all at once, but you do have to get your strategy right, and some brand elements right, because without those two things, your website stinks, right? It's not targeted towards the right people, and it doesn't have good branding associated with it. Like, it's really hard to do any of these other things effectively unless you get these two things reasonably in the right direction. Okay, questions on any of that? Any deep dive stuff? It's 1 o'clock. So again, I do want to be respectful of anybody's time. Is there anybody that needs to leave that's not sticking around for workshop stuff? Okay, wonderful. Now would be the time.
As I'm saying, then Marissa had to go cover the front desk, so I'll get
Understood.
this for her. She's our marketing and communications person here, so.
Yeah. Or if you want to leave the headband behind.
I don't want to take your flag.
Totally keeping it
Are you?
and using it in my office.
No, I think you should roll
Yeah.
it down.
When work is intense.
I
you
have a
know,
ribbon cutting
you're-
tonight.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, when work
I
is
do
intense.
have to get some of these branded so they don't say Wilson on
Yeah.
it. but I'm not quite that far ahead yet. Okay.
You find that, can I just ask, I'm sorry, I'm passionate about marketing. Email marketing, I feel personally, I get way too many emails.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
so,
we were talking about in the drive up that we all individually have a junk email box that we
Yeah.
give to businesses.
Yep.
So that all that stuff goes there.
Yep.
Okay. It's only the select few where you want that content
yeah,
that, we give our trust to those people.
Yeah.
And if they abuse that trust, it's unsubscribe.
yes,
So, in the world of professional services, like in our IT business, our newsletter actually has a really high open rate and a really high no unsubscribe rate because we know all of those clients and we don't make it salesy. We make it all trust, knowledge, content with a little bit of like in there. And so folks, there's just not a lot of me pushing products on people. It is all like and trust, authority, knowledge-based content for small business, so you're spot on, and you really have to be thoughtful about that.
Okay.
The point that I missed in this, and I hit it, I just didn't quite say it correctly, is on these two things, when you get these straight and this straight, right? These three things start to come together. You enter what we call, the confidence zone. And this took a really long time in my journey to get to where I was confident that I had the right strategy, I had the right branding elements, and that website, right, was beating competition from a rank standpoint, etc. When you get to this, then you can start to look at what are the other things, other tactics I can introduce. But again, it's very hard to want to do more tactics unless you've hit that confidence zone. Okay. And again, we get calls and inquiries all the time of people like, can you help me with this tactic? Can you help me with that tactic? And I'm always putting the brakes on. It's like, give me confidence in your strategy. Give me confidence in your brand. Give me confidence in your website. And if you do give me confidence, then we'll talk. But if you're not there, more tactics are not going to help you, I promise. I get this question a lot, digital, non-digital, what are the rules of the road? To me, it's super simple. It's like, they're just different channels. Be thoughtful about them and create oneness. And the way I put it to people is just think of it like a band. Okay. They're just different tools, different instruments. You got to make sure that they're playing the same song. And as long as you're clear on your strategy, your customer personas, your buyers, all that kind of stuff, making this happen, it's one of those questions that pops up where I just know people aren't confident yet. They're just trying to figure out which channel do I use. And that's not the struggle. The struggle is get your strategy, get your brand, get your basic website, aligned, and then doing some of these other things that align with it are not that hard. When you do that, you enter the marketing zone. Okay. So I don't know, the folks in this room, if you're in the confidence zone and you're here, it's probably because, right now, which tactics should I use? Right. So we could go down the social media. Should I use Facebook advertising or LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever? Ultimately, again, these are all tactical questions, which are super important to answer once you've hit that confidence zone. Okay. They're the wrong things to answer if you're not confident yet. If you're not confident yet, you really need to be solving these strategic questions of differentiation. This one blows my mind all the time, right? People come to us for marketing and we'll ask, well, what are revenues today and what do you want revenues to be 12 months from now, 36 months? And they have, you've got to think through those questions, because ultimately the amount of muscle that you're going to need is wildly different depending on what your growth goals are, within your organization. Okay. Higher margins. This is a great question to ask. If you can get the types of A's and B's customers that you want, and they're really trying to solve a problem that doesn't so much, they're not as concerned about price, and you can get more of those types of people solving those types of problems, higher margins. Look at coffee. Holy smoke. You think Howard Schultz at Starbucks hasn't figured this out, that he's not selling coffee? He's selling a break and an experience for people and a treat. People could seemingly pay whatever for it because he's attracting people that want the Starbucks experience and the feeling that they get. 15 years ago, everybody was said, "You are nuts. No one will ever pay that for a cup of coffee." And he thought, "I'm not selling them a cup of coffee." New product offering launches, more A's, B's, less C's. This is happening in Montana a lot. Again, I've been in the marketplace for a little over 20 years. Montana has always kind of been on an island, but there are definitely more sophisticated companies coming into Montana. Who's familiar with Carl Tyler Chevrolet in Missoula? Okay. Kind of an institution, right? Been there forever. Okay. But the dealership market has changed radically in the last 10 years. Carl Tyler's sold yesterday.
Oh, wow.
To the Rydell Group, which is a nationwide owner of dealers. No more Carl Tyler. It's now the Missoula Motor Company. See, you're just right. Montana is an attractive market. There are high net worth individuals moving here in the droves, right? It's called the silver tsunami, right? It's changing, and larger, more sophisticated businesses are coming in with much more sophisticated marketing engines. Effective at non-digital, but struggling with digital. Digital and non-digital are misaligned. Branding is off. All more kind of strategic questions. This is the big list of questions, that are out there, just as you're kind of, analyzing, do I have effective digital marketing? In many ways, you can drop the word digital, and just, do I have effective marketing? Okay. We oftentimes use this in sales. My intent here today is not to do a bunch of selling stuff to you, but it is to try and help you understand the marketing journey, whether you do anything or not. Okay, so we've talked about this. Right? You have to get to the commitment zone in the right level of commitment, just like you do with your fitness. It's the same thing. right? Find the right level of commitment that you're truly committed to, okay? Establish where you and your competitors are. We help organizations do this called a TOPA, Total Online Presence Assessment. But ultimately, you can look at other people's Google reviews. You can look at other people's Facebook presence. You can look at other people's websites, right? Define where you are going, how, and what happens next. Okay, we call this strategy, tactics, and schedule. What's going to happen? What's our strategy? What tactics are we going to start with? Don't start with them all, please. And what's our schedule, right, for the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months? Okay. BMO. Notice I haven't done any marketing yet, right? BMO is branding makeover. Okay. Sometimes your brand just needs some touch-ups, a few elements that it might be missing. Sometimes it might need that full makeover. Design, build, launch. Your website, your Facebook page, your LinkedIn page, whatever it is, make sure those digital properties line up with your brand, line up with your strategy. Okay. Again, I still have done no marketing yet. I'm simply moving from commitment through these stages. And if I do that effectively, I now enter that confidence zone. It's like, yep, I know what I'm doing for the next 12 months. My brand is lined up. My channels are lined up. I'm not trying to do it all, but I've got a right good mix of things. Okay. When you get to confidence, this is where you gain belief in your engine. And you can now start to do some additional tactics and campaigns that build off of that. When those tactics and campaigns start producing fruit, you move from confidence that, hey, I'm actually doing marketing. And I say that kind of flippantly because I spent a lot of money for a lot of years doing marketing. And really what I spent was a lot of money in the years just spending money on tactics, not getting results. When you hit that marketing zone, it's like now I can add more tactics and campaigns to build the kind of lead engine I'm looking for in the freedom zone. You can see 2 to 3 weeks, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, and that doesn't mean you're not getting wins along the way. You have to be building what's already working on your business, but ultimately, if you get that level of maturity, it's going to take a couple of years for the typical business with the small business with the budgets that we have. You know, if you don't ever hit here, like you're not going to spend more on campaigns, right? You typically go all the way back to, I'm just going to go back to what I was doing, put the brakes on. So anyway, kind of understand that whether you do anything with me or not, that's kind of the small business marketing journey. It's slow, it's committed, it's milestone based.